Listen up, presented by Dempsey's Growing Sports Land alongside Ryan Renner, Phil Becerra. Ryan, we tested my mic. We didn't test yours. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you loud
good.
and clear.
All right. I'm not too loud or too soft, right?
Nope, sounds good to me.
That was good. Okay. You're coming through clear. Listen, in this episode, guys, we're going to go over the NFC South again, way late, right? Late preview. But what we'll do is we'll just kind of dive, Ryan, into what's been going on so far with these teams in this division and these players, that is. And again, give our prediction. It's never too late as long as January football is not here. It's never too late to give our predictions of who we think. We'll get on right into it, Ryan. Look at the standings in the NFC South last year, Ryan. Take a look at them and you decide. You tell me which team you want to go first and which team you want to evaluate last.
Yeah, well, I'll start off with the 2020 NFC South champions and the New Orleans Saints. They went 12-4 and they beat the Bucks twice during the regular season, and they fell to them in the divisional round. They're struggling a little bit this season without Drew Brees. Drew Brees was in New Orleans for 20 years, and he retired. And Jameis Winston is the starter. They're 2-3. They crushed the Packers in the Week 1 opener, and we all opened our eyes about that one and wondered, is this Saints team really that good? And they really just were up and down ever since then. They're 2-3 so far this season, as we head into Week 6 in the NFL. But it's really the same team as last year. The only big offseason move I had written down was that they signed a linebacker in Quan Alexander. And rather than that, other than no Drew Brees anymore, it's really the same team. So, for the Saints, it's kind of like I wouldn't call it a rebuilding year because they still have a lot of ballers on that team, even without Drew Brees. But, when the defending Super Bowl champions are in your division in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's going to be tough to win the division.
Yes, you're definitely right about that. You take a look at the standings last year. Let's go over just all the standings very quickly. You had the Saints finishing at 12-4. Again, they won the division last year. The Buccaneers right behind them, the defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers 11-5. The Panthers, came in at 5-11. The Falcons 4-12. Mind you, the Falcons finished on a 5-game losing streak. Look at the Buccaneers though; they finished on a 4-game winning streak. Not that they needed it, Ryan, because we'll get into that team in just a second. They had the greatest of all time there, right? Yeah. Just to put things into perspective, though, the Saints, you flip the script and you look at the standings this year, Ryan, and it's a little surprising to me. The Saints had that comeback. They bounced back with a win last week, but again, they're sitting at 3-2 on the season. Tied with the Panthers. Buccaneers is no surprise. They're in first. That was the biggest loss, to me, as far as during the offseason. Obviously, Drew Brees. You and I talked about it right after that game last year, the way Drew Brees waved going out of the tunnel, and you and I called each other up, and you're like, Phil, I think that's it.
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of an emotional moment, losing in the divisional round when they were in that divisional game the whole entire time. And it was a game where they could have definitely beaten the Buccaneers and they would have gone on to face the Packers in Lambeau Field. But with Drew Brees and Sean Payton, the duo we've seen so long, so many years together, they couldn't get another ring.
They couldn't get another ring, but they will be getting another ring probably about 6 years. Someone will be getting another ring. That's a Hall of Fame ring because you have to imagine, Ryan, that they'll be celebrating. Saints fans will be up there in the next 6 years when he goes into the Hall of Fame, Drew Brees.
Yeah, I think it's no doubt about that Drew Brees will for sure be a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about it.
No argument. You were not arguing with me this time, right?
No, not this time.
All right. What did you like about the New Orleans Saints, Ryan, the draft this year? Coming into the year, again, they had a very successful run with Drew Brees, especially when Brady arrived in that division, but they just couldn't overcome the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when it mattered the most. Again, they won the division both times. Both times he was there, or Tom Brady was only there this is his second year, right?
Yep, second year in Tampa Bay. Yeah.
Second year in Tampa Bay. What did you like about the Saints 2021 draft? Again, they didn't really need, it wasn't a need for quarterback because you just mentioned Jameis Winston, as signed there. So again, where did you see most of the needs for this team? Now that you got, okay, well, you lose Drew Brees, a legend, right? A legendary quarterback, once in a lifetime quarterback. But now all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, I think we're okay at quarterback. Did you agree with what they did in this year's draft as far, or, maybe they could have taken the quarterback of the future? Or do you think Winston is that quarterback of the future so far?
Yeah, I mean, Winston, obviously, like I just mentioned, he's had up and down games. They're 3-2. Week 1 against the Packers, he threw 5 touchdowns. And the next week they just got shut down. But the Saints did draft a quarterback in round 4 out of Notre Dame in Ian Book. And of course they have Taysom Hill, the versatile weapon, we'll call him. Right. Tight end, running back, quarterback, whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. But Ian Book, it was a strange pick because obviously, like you just mentioned, the need for quarterback wasn't really, it wasn't really a need because Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. But they decided to take a quarterback, and the Saints, I didn't really like their draft that much. In round 1, they took a defensive end and Peyton Turner out of Houston. They have Cameron Jordan. So they have a pretty good defensive line. I don't really know what the need or the key piece that this team needs to really get going. I think maybe a big part is that linebacking core.
I was going to say maybe linebacker, or how about defensive end or edge rushers just to get to Tom Brady. I mean, it's something that, because you see, man, again, it doesn't matter how great you are at quarterback. Just so if you have people in your face all night, all day long, there's going to be pressure in throwing that football. And I'm telling you, you're not, that's to me, that's right now. And it's crazy, right? He's 44 years old. That's the only way that you could really beat this guy anymore, man, is pressure him, put the pressure on, and hopefully you can get them forced fumbles, get the sacks. But yeah, how about the Saints? Because you talk about how they were the champions of this division last year, but still they could not get to the dreamland. You know what I mean? So yeah. The ultimate goal. So maybe that's what it was, Ryan. I mean, do you think that maybe as far as, since they are the ones that they could probably are the closest to competing with the Buccaneers and Tom Brady, how about the pass rush?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, they have Cameron Jordan, but other than that, they really don't have a lot of pieces. Demario Davis is a good linebacker. Tight end Adam Troutman, Marquise Callaway, wide receiver, and Michael Thomas. They haven't had him for the first 5 weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. I believe he maybe could come back in week 7. But that might hurt them a little. I think that's kind of affecting how Jameis Winston is throwing the football, because Michael Thomas has been such a key piece for that offense. Yeah. For when Drew Brees was there, really good in the short passing game. He's known for his slant passes. So I think, but Alvin Kamara is one of the best backs in the league. He really hasn't had that many bad games so far this season. So I think maybe I think the Saints are maybe trying to lean on him a little bit too much, and just the defense trying to carry all that weight of Jameis Winston not converting maybe so much on third down as Drew Brees did. But I think that the Saints just need just a kickstart to get going, because I just don't see how this season they're gonna catch the Bucs.
Well, it looks like the New Orleans Saints general manager, Mickey Loomis, he was thinking probably the same thing that I was thinking, and that's rush Tom Brady, because I just now saw they went defensive end in round 1, like you mentioned, and then they Peyton Turner, that was out of Houston, and then they went their first 2 I really like, and then linebacker Pete Werner out of round 2 out of Ohio. Ohio State. So how could you go wrong, right? Especially that second pick, Ohio State. We talk about them kind of picks out of the Big Ten, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong. Alabama, so much talent out of the SEC
Yeah.
as well. But linebacker, I think it is a big need for this team. But they played, when they played the Giants,
Mm-hmm.
everybody was expecting them to just steamroll the Giants,
Yeah.
and they let the Giants come back into that game, and they lost at home. That was their season opener at home, and it ended up going into overtime, and they lost. So I think that was kind of a wake up call for this team that, they're gonna need to try a lot harder than that. It's not gonna come easy anymore when you don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback back there under center.
Moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they finished 11-5 last year. Ryan, again, you can't be surprised. This brings back nightmares for you and I. If anybody watched the Super Bowl preview that we had back in February, shout out to Austin again for helping us out on that. A big success. But we bet and we bet and we bet against Tom Brady, and every time we came out on the wrong side until it got down to the end and we couldn't bet anymore. This team, Ryan, again, I argue it to you again. Again, our own grandfather, when we talked to him on the phone, well, this Tampa Bay team just doesn't look as strong as last year, Phil, and the this and that. They didn't look as strong, Ryan, when they came out last year. And guess what? They won the Super Bowl. So, again, I think I go back to the whole thing while we're talking about the Buccaneers on topic here. I think it's just, and I don't say this being, out of smartness. I really think that it's safe right now to just consider Tom Brady and the Buccaneers not done until the scoreboard says so, and they're walking off the field back into the tunnel in Florida or wherever the playoff game is. If they do, matter of fact, get eliminated in January, because right now, again, I'm sorry. I know you probably can relate to me on this. I'll let you talk. I just, as hot as the Cowboys are, and I could see them going a long way. It's hard for me to believe in any NFC team at all until Tampa Bay gets knocked off.
Yeah, that was a lot of talk during the off season that we had. We were saying, hey, what team in the NFC is going to knock off the Buccaneers? And really the only team I could come up with was the LA Rams. And of course, like you mentioned, the Cowboys look pretty good so far. The Cardinals are obviously the only undefeated team in the league, but there's still a long way to go. And the Bucks are 5-1. They did lose to the LA Rams, so that's something there. But it's a whole nother level when you get into those playoffs, because they were 11-5 last season. They didn't even win the division.
Yep.
But Tom Brady led them to the promised land and got them that Super Bowl ring. So like you said, you can never count Tom Brady out. You could never count him out when he was in New England. You still can't count him out now. And I don't know when we'll learn a lesson about not betting against Tom Brady.
Right now. That's what I'm telling you right now. I had the Buccaneers going back to the Super Bowl this year. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have them winning the division. I'll go ahead and say that. I think that's pretty obvious. We both have them winning the division, but
hold on. We'll get to predictions just 1 second. How about the draft picks though? I liked again, they stacked up with talent. They signed Antonio Brown. They brought back Gronkowski out of retirement. Of course, that was last year. But it's never too late, never too early to bring in young talent, the future of these Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Once Tom Brady is gone, if he ever decides to retire, he said he wants to stick around until age 50 or 55. We'll see about that. Kyle Trask, quarterback out of Florida. Maybe that's the future for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after Tom Brady goes. Tell us what you think about Trask.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm a big Florida fan. I watched Kyle Trask for 2 years. He was waiting to come in, and he really did deliver for the Florida Gators. He stepped up big. He had a lot of weapons. He had Kyle Pitts, the big tight end that went to the Falcons. Kadarius Toney, the speedster that went to the Giants. But it's not it's a pretty good quarterback to learn from if you're gonna get picked by a team Kyle Trask has a pretty good mentor and Tom Brady to learn from. He can learn a lot of different stuff from Tom Brady, and I'm sure when Tom Brady decides to hang it up, that Kyle Trask is going to be ready to come in and lead the Buccaneers. But the round one pick, Joe Tyron, I also liked that Washington linebacker. But we've seen so far this season from the Buccaneers, their defense isn't as good as it was last season, especially in the secondary. They had a couple injuries. Antoine Winfield, I believe, one of their cornerbacks went down. They signed Richard Sherman, and he got hurt in the Thursday night game against the Eagles. So I believe he only played like half.
That was a huge blow, yeah, for Richard Sherman to get Richard Sherman, that is, to get hurt.
Yeah, because I mean, I was wondering if anybody was going to pick him up, and it seemed like a good pickup for the Buccaneers. But I mean, he's getting up in age, so that's a risk you have to take. But I think that's definitely a big weakness that the Buccaneers need to figure out this season moving forward. There's still a lot of time left, but their defense for sure isn't anywhere near it was last season. It's still pretty good, but
there's a long way to go until January.
Run.
Yeah, there's a long way to go until January.
Yeah, I just think if they need to make another Super Bowl run, though, they're going to have to straighten up that defense to get ready for the Cardinals and the Rams come playoff time.
You said it first. Everybody hears you. Yeah. So again, that second pick there out of Florida, Kyle Trask did play some good football at Florida. I remember you calling me and telling me about Trask during his days as a Gator. Why do you think they went linebacker round one? Any certain reason? I mean, with that defense already playing so good in the playoffs last year, is that what it was? Just they probably went just best available, what was left on the board, because he was at the 32nd pick.
Yeah, I mean, they did have the 32nd pick. I think at this point you probably go best available. I think that's a big part. But they have Levante David, great linebacker. They have a great linebacking core. Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah, that's the thing with everybody returning. It's like if you're the GM of this team, Ryan, like who do you like? What position do you go after? That's tough. People talk about when teams aren't good at a lot of positions on the roster, defense and offense. But how about when you're stacked at every position? I mean, isn't that just as hard as who do I pick in the draft? So I think whether you're very good or very bad, I think it still carries the same weight. Who do you go after?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be tough after you win a Super Bowl and you get your whole team back like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you really need in the draft when everybody returns and you have the same Super Bowl? You have the same roster that you just won the Super Bowl with. So I wouldn't want to make the calls to make the draft picks.
Moving on to the Panthers. Last year, they finished 5-11. Ryan, they finished on a 1-game losing streak. Mind you, the Panthers, breaking news today, Christian McCaffrey just went down. He cannot return until week 9.
Yeah.
What was that injury?
I think it was with his leg. I'm not really sure now. But he's been on IR for 3 weeks. And he was questionable all week this week. And the Panthers and Matt Rule were thinking that he might have a slim chance to play this week, but like you just said, the breaking news.
Okay, all right. Well, it's Panthers place running back McCaffrey on IR, and it is a hamstring, and he can't return until week 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, they thought maybe there was a chance he was going to come back this week, and that is a little surprising that he is going to be out 3 more weeks now. And it's definitely hurt the Panthers a little bit. They are still 3-2, but they lost McCaffrey. Then they had to play the Cowboys, so that was a tough test for them. But then they played the Eagles. They were up in that game, and they just let the Eagles sneak in and find a way to win in the end last week. So I think without Christian McCaffrey, that's their main weapon on offense. That's how Sam Darnold, they got him this past off season. He's been doing good, but without Christian McCaffrey, he's really been struggling to kind of get back into his groove.
The 2021 draft picks, Ryan, round 1, they had J.C. Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina. I heard a lot of buzz. That was at pick 8. A lot of buzz around this corner. What do you think of him so far?
Yeah, I mean, he was playing really good, and I believe he's out for the season. I think it was a torn Achilles. I think that was the Thursday night game that he went down.
Okay.
And yeah, he was playing tremendous for this team, much like Trayvon Diggs in a sense that somebody can come into the league like that. It took Trayvon Diggs a full year to really develop into a kind of a shutdown corner so far. But for J.C. Horn to play second cornerback on the Panthers and really just step in and lock down opposing wide receivers, but that was devastating for the Panthers to lose a guy like that. But of course they did then go out and trade for Stephon Gilmore with the Patriots. So I believe they'll have him in week 7 as well, 2 weeks from now. So that's definitely a big pickup for this team.
You're right. It was J.C. Horn, likely out 2 to 3 months with a broken foot. So maybe not out for the year. To me though, I mean, I don't know if he returns, to be honest with you. We'll have to wait and see about that.
Yeah, but I mean, further down the board in the Panthers draft, round 2, Terrace Marshall Jr., wide receiver out of LSU. I really like that pick too. Of course, DJ Moore, big weapon that the Panthers have at wide receiver. He's been lighting it up for them this season. But round 4, Chuba Hubbard. That's a huge pick that, especially now, since CMC is out with that injury, Chuba Hubbard, running back out of Alabama, he's really stepped up and been the lead running back for this team since the time Christian McCaffrey has been out.
Okay, and moving on to the last place team from last year, it was the Falcons. They finished 4-12. Matt Ryan is still there in Atlanta. Again, you got to feel sorry for the guy. Still searching for a ring, but he's like, oh, goodness. Now I have Tom Brady to deal with. Can he ever get to the promised land? It seems like Matt Ryan might retire. One of the best quarterbacks stat-wise, and he's all around a great guy, but he just can't seem to put the success together.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to see a guy like Matt Ryan who I think in terms of numbers, he should be in the Hall of Fame. That's a discussion for another time, but he's just been one of those guys that came into the league and has really never looked back. He's such a, elite quarterback, but yeah, I mean, with Tom Brady going into the division now, it's going to be tough, and he might retire after this season. They're having another really tough season, there in Atlanta. Mike Davis, a running back they signed during the off season from the Panthers, their division rival. He's been doing quite good for this Atlanta Falcons team. Their lead running back getting 10 to 15 carries per game, sometimes 20. So that's been a big pickup for them. But yeah, I mean, it's just for the Falcons, they're kind of like the Lions. I mean, they haven't really been that good for a while. Even though like the Lions had Matthew Stafford, Falcons had Matt Ryan, 2 elite quarterbacks, but they just never really found a way to make a run in the playoffs or even get to the playoffs in the first place.
Yeah, and they're going over their draft very quickly. Round 1, your guy again. I know you're going to want to talk about him very quickly. Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida. They went with their 4th pick overall. And then in round 2, they had a safety, Richie Grant out of UCF. Round 3, Jalen Mayfield, offensive tackle, Michigan, just to note 2 more of them. Darren Hall, corner out of San Diego State. And then they went defensive tackle, big guy out of Texas, Taquan Graham in round 5. But I know out of all these draft picks, you want to talk about Kyle Pitts. What do you have on him?
Yeah, I mean, he's the versatile weapon out of Florida. He can really do it all. And he's a unique player. He's a one-of-a-kind player. He really is. Because, just because of his speed, his size, his agility, and his ability to be a blocker as well. I mean, he's not really big in terms of heavy, but he's just so tall. He really is like a wide receiver. and he did get his first touchdown pass finally. I was waiting for it all season long for Matt Ryan to dime him up in the end zone, and he finally got that last week in London versus the Jets. I believe he had like 5 receptions for 112 yards and a touchdown. So
He's a good
that's
one.
finally
Yeah.
good to see him get in the end zone.
Yeah, it is. And that's all you can ask out of a tight end, because it's a lot of times you just think about how many touchdowns, they can make, especially in the red zone. When you're caught up in the red zone, how can your tight ends come through like Gronkowski, right? One of the greatest. So, and that's what you think about, big hands, an elite tight end, big playmaker, big bodied catcher. They can go out and catch the ball, especially in the red zone. But you brought that up, and that's a good point. Blocking skills. You need that too, man. It's not all about the offensive explosion. Yeah. You're going to be asked to block a lot in the NFL. So looking at tight end, Florida, Kyle Pitts, they couldn't go wrong there. Round 1, 4th overall.
Yeah, and that is a really big part in terms of tight end, much like George Kittle. He's the best in the league at blocking. It's just another element that Kyle Pitts adds. Calvin Ridley, and this is another guy that we haven't talked about for the Falcons. He's a really, really good wide receiver for them. But I just think for the Falcons to really flourish, I think Matt Ryan is going to have to try to target Kyle Pitts more in the offense. He's such a big target, and really to just get him going. Maybe this was his spark that he needed, that first touchdown, first game over 100 yards versus the Jets. So hopefully he can get something going now for Atlanta.
Prediction time. Ryan, I know we're doing a little bit of cheating here as far as looking at the NFC South division while we're on, but so I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's crazy, right? Because they don't win the division last year, but they do win the Super Bowl. Now watch, they'll probably win the division this year and not win the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay, I'll put Tampa Bay in first. You mentioned they're 5-1. I don't have any other team coming close to this team in the division. Number 2, I will. That's tough again because you have the 3-2 Panthers and the 3-2 Saints. With Christian McCaffrey out, considering he'll be out, I just like the Saints' chances better as far as moving into that second spot. So I'm going to go with the Saints, Ryan. And they'll finish number 2 in this division. And then I'm going with the Panthers to finish 3rd, and I will go with the Falcons at 4th. Although it's tough for me to say that because Falcons with Matt Ryan, and if he can start connecting with Kyle Pitts more, that's a tough one. But I'll go ahead and roll the dice and put Atlanta in last place.
Yeah, I think that, the offense really isn't the concern for the Falcons, but it's just their defense. I mean, they just can't stop anybody. But I have the Falcons in 4th as well. I did have the Panthers in 3rd. I already predicted this before the season started, so I'm going to stick with it. I had the Panthers in 3rd, Saints in 2nd, and I do have the Buccaneers winning the division. I think that's a pretty obvious pick to have the Super Bowl champions and Tom Brady on top of this NFC South, especially with Drew Brees no longer with the Saints.
All right, stick around on Listen Up. We will bring you most likely tomorrow, Ryan. We will have an episode. If the Chicago Sky, Candace Parker and company, if the Chicago Sky can somehow hold on and win the series, we're going to bring you all that. A big headline for WNBA watchers. We could see a champion crown in the WNBA world tomorrow as soon as maybe around 6 o'clock. What do you say? 6, 7 o'clock. They go up against Brittany Griner, Diana Taurasi, and your girl, Skylar Diggins-Smith, the big 3. But again, Ryan, so far in this series, I'm kind of shocked. It's been a shocker all the way through these WNBA playoffs. I can't believe, what I've seen so far. But again, like you said earlier today, Phil, I can't believe the Phoenix Mercury find themselves down. What is it, 2-1?
Yeah.
After they brought Skylar Diggins in, they had Brittany Griner and she was voted the greatest player ever, Diana Taurasi.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it for 2 weeks. How have the Chicago Sky keep on doing it. They defeated my Wings in the first round, and they go through the second round. Who did they beat in the second round that was a upset?
Who was who, the Chicago Sky?
Yeah.
It was John Quill Jones and company.
Yeah, the Connecticut Sun, the number one seed. That's right. So yeah. I mean, they stormed through them, and then the Phoenix Mercury, they're up 2-1 at home tomorrow, looking to win the WNBA Finals.
That's right. Well, we'll have it all covered for you here on Listen Up. Marilyn Ryan, it's just about bedtime. I'll see you, bud, before I fall asleep on this camera.